good thing the Carolina Panthers are out of town. They are in Foxborough against the New England Patriots tonight. Jim Szoke, who is part of the Panthers Radio Broadcast Club, they will be on the radio starting at 6 o'clock over at our friends at Mix 101.5 and Buzz Sports Radio here locally in Raleigh. Also, East Carolina football play-by-play voice joins us on the Adam Gold Show. I trust that did you get out of town before the heavens opened up?
So far, Adam, we've timed it up pretty good. We got out before the rain. It's cloudy but not raining up here in Providence is where we're staying. And it's going to rain here, I think, after we leave. So I guess we'll see what it looks like once we hit the airways tonight after the game, heading back into Charlotte overnight. Yeah,
I mean, it should be everything should be out of here, I would imagine, by that point. You would have been like, who's Debbie? I never heard of Debbie. Well, look, I hope the travel goes well. People don't. Traveling sometimes really sucks, and you can get bogged down wherever you are. All right, Bryce Young's not going to play, and I know there are Panthers fans who are looking around. Look, Josh Allen is playing a quarter. I'm surprised he's playing that much tonight, by the way, or this week, by the way. Patrick Mahomes is going to play as much as a quarter. C.J. Stroud is going to play. Different philosophies, and Dave Canales talked about it. Big picture for Bryce Young and the offense. What would you like to see this preseason?
I think, overall, with the new coaching staff, Dave Canales and of course, the new offensive coordinator, also from Tampa, in Brad Idzik, is then putting their stamp, their culture, their personality on that. And you hear coaches always say, no matter who's playing, you play your brand of football. So we're about to see a little bit about in preseason. They don't show a ton, but to some degree what Panthers football offensively in this case will look like without seeing Bryce Young, without their second-round pick Jonathan Brooks for probably a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months before he gets out there,
right.
And just see how they kind of run things out there. None of the starting offensive line is expected to probably be out there for this one too. So I think it's probably that's the collective of, if you're going to put Bryce out there, you want to have him surrounded by everybody. And I think at this point, it's a little bit more roster evaluation with some battles going on the back half of the roster. At the same point, putting that stamp on this team of, obviously they've said they want to run the ball, they want to stop the run. So whoever is out there that they can do those kind of things.
What would you want to see, Bryce? Because I've said before, this game doesn't matter to me. I think the second one matters a little bit more to me, and it's not that I need to see. I think there are two entities that would need to see Bryce and the first-team offense at least go on the field for a couple of snaps. I think fans. I think it's good for your fans, especially those who bought tickets to the preseason game. And I think it would be good for the coaching staff to evaluate it during a game. Not that you're going to draw great conclusions from 2 series or even 3 series of your second preseason game, but I think they would want to see the entire operation in action in a live game setting, no?
Yeah, and we'll see what they do with the next 2 games after this year point here. So we know for this one it won't be that way, but moving forward, you'd like to see how he does connect in this offense in a game setting. And of course, teams have now taken more value in these joint practice sessions.
Yes.
They'll have heading into week 2 with the New York Jets coming in next week to Charlotte. So they get a lot of work there in a situation there where you control the environment more. You can work on situational football and really look at things and control environments as opposed to whatever happens in a preseason game with different levels of players out there at different times with each other. So as you said, every coaching staff has it a little bit different. We know Bryce won't play in this one, and I guess to be determined on what they do with week 2 and week 3 with the offense and all those guys.
It probably depends on how those joint practices go on Thursday, but there's only the one, right? There's only the Thursday against the Jets. Then I can't imagine they're practicing Friday, and then the game is Saturday. Jim Szoke of the Panthers Radio Network is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. When you look at the personnel that Dave Canales has at his fingertips, which of the areas do you feel the most confident in that it has been a substantial jump up from a year ago?
And surprised to hear it being said by myself while I say it is wide receiver based on last year was Adam Thielen and nobody else.
Right.
He had 60 more catches than second place Jonathan Mingo had last year. He had 103 and Mingo had 43. So it was like, throw to Adam Thielen and everybody else, just kind of running around out there. And I say this because you bring in Deontay Johnson, obviously in the deal from Pittsburgh. Jonathan Mingo, by everybody's eyeballs out there, looks like a different wide receiver in year 2 than he was as a rookie. Out of Ole Miss, has worked really hard on his route running, looks more confident, so should step up. Terrace Marshall's looked better than he has over the past couple of years. Of course, we'll not see Xavier Legette with the little bit of an injury, but hopefully next week. But then Amir Smith-Marset, who's been an exciting player, played some roles, especially on special teams last year for the Panthers, adds another player there. So surprisingly, I just named 6 guys right there at receiver. You don't even keep 6. I mean, you do if it's special teams, which Smith-Marset would be that. But even if nobody else emerges, if those guys are all healthy, that's a nice, kind of diverse skill set of guys out there and weapons at the receiver position for Bryce Young to choose from. And probably where the strongest back half of the roster competition will be as far as can Terrace Marshall make this team versus some other guy that might emerge.
Isn't it amazing? And Jim Szoke is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. When you think back to last year, that they drafted a quarterback number 1, which I'm still on board with. I am still Team Bryce Young. But they drafted a quarterback and then handed him that group of receivers. Like, I just feel like that was one of the most egregious things a coaching staff could do. You said Adam Thielen was it, and he basically was like tight end too. This is not there are just no great players at tight end. There was nobody reliable for him, whether it was through injury or performance. It really was just Adam Thielen, and now, given good health, he could have 6 or 7, credible options. It blows my mind when I think back on last year.
No, you're right. And behind, obviously, a porous offensive line. I mean, the rotational player at guards, I feel like 100 of them last year, it felt like, and just couldn't keep healthy or qualified bodies out there at times to block for the rookie quarterback. I think another thing fun to watch tonight, a guy that will play, is Jatavian Sanders, the 4th-round pick out of Texas, because he could be another answer as far as, adding maybe not week 1, but as the season progresses, a player at tight end that has high upside in the receiving game to go with Ian Thomas, Tommy Tremble, and guys like that when they're healthy. So I think that'll be fun to watch. His development, too, as a rookie this year, that could be another core piece for them. Obviously, they expect that in drafting a guy that was probably viewed by many as the second-best tight end in the draft.
Yeah, we talked about the receiver position, but the offensive line has obviously been overhauled. They spent a lot of money on revamping at guard. Austin Corbett's been moved to center. We won't see any of those guys tonight. Same 2 tackles, Ike Ekwonu, Taylor Moton. But we think that offensive line will, at the very least, be good over the course of the next year. And I also think that Dave Canales is going to commit to running the football. But let me get to defense real quick. It's a different scheme, sort of. It seemed like a different scheme than it was a year ago. Maybe it's the same, but there's obviously we're missing some players. No Brian Burns, among others. What's your read on where this team is defensively right now?
Yeah, and I think, they did well to hang on to defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero, who's back. So it will be largely schematically the same. And with Burns, the situation there, they move off, and then Jadeveon Clowney comes in. He's looked really good in camp, so he's been around, obviously, a long time when you're double digits in this league, that many years wise, but still played very effectively last year for Baltimore. So I think may give, from a Moneyball perspective, kind of a similar production possibly to what Brian Burns could have done here. And then I think, as far as not having Frankie Luvu back, they're attacking it with guys like Josie Jewell, who's been 100-plus tackle guy 3 of the last 4 years out of Denver. Shaq Thompson's back. I think it's one of the things that's kind of missed from last year, his injury last year, not being out there. And then I think, obviously Derek Brown is the star of the defense, but at linebackers, at one edge, eventually DJ Wanham when he's healthy, but DJ Johnson, who was their 3rd-round pick last year, I think they see him kind of emerging as a guy, at least rotationally there at that other edge position. And it'll be fun tonight to see Trevor Wallace, their 3rd-round pick out of Kentucky. These guys are fast. Wallace, DJ Johnson, these are speed guys. And they told him, just go out, play fast. And so we'll see these guys, obviously, in pretty much, quarters and maybe up to a half. But it'll be interesting to see just how fast they can play. Because last year they did a great job in containing and yardage and all that, but last in the league in takeaways, last in quarterback sacks. They need more explosive big plays from the defense this year overall.
Jim Szoke is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. I've been saying this for months now. The defense can't be great. It might not even be able to be really good unless J.C. Horn is out there on, whatever corner he's going to play. They desperately need him to be on the field for more than 40% of the games.
No, he's, when healthy, as we say, we begin every sentence with J.C. Horn. When healthy, one of the most talented young cornerbacks in this league, and if healthy, I think could merge into the classic shutdown corner. He's just physical, size-wise. He press coverage, do all the things you want. Because at the other corner spot is Dane Jackson, who's been a spot starter in this league with Buffalo. They think, Dan Morgan especially, that he can come in and solidify the other corner position. But with Xavier Woods back there, I think he had one of the more underrated seasons in a lost season. He played really well at safety last year. Bringing in Jordan Fuller and Nick Scott from the Rams. So I think it'll be solid there. But, again, the star of that secondary is J.C. Horn if they can keep him on the field.
Yeah, I just think every great defense has one of those guys. If you don't have that, it makes it just that much more difficult to have a great pass defense. But especially in this era of passing offense, you got to have one of those guys, or you have to be awesome at every other position. And there are very few teams who are that. So they desperately need J.C. Horn. All right, final thing for Jim Szoke. What is your favorite thing about the new head coach, Dave Canales?
He is as advertised. We had a production meeting with him yesterday, and so I've been with him in group settings, but haven't really had a chance to be, more of a smaller one-on-one. It was a smaller group in this case here. And he's the genuine article. I mean, that enthusiasm, that energy, the attention to detail when he speaks football to you and things like that, it's real. So there's a football mind in there and just this personality. And I like the energy. Frank Reich had success for a long time as a player and a coach in the league, but it just felt flat and kind of meh for a lot of it. It just I like the energy, and of course it only matters if you win. But I like that the personality is the genuine thing. And people say he was in Seattle for 13 years. I mean that's who he is. So it's not some motivational speaker kind of made up persona. It really is what he's about.
Are you fired up for the start of ECU season?
I am. I think they've done a complete revamping, especially on the offensive side. Kind of similar that the defense was really solid last year, but they had to attack the offense. And I felt like going into last year they were victimized by the new rules of NIL and transfer portal and all that. And this year I think they were more aggressive and went out and got players and brought them in, a quarterback and receiver especially there. And I think that the expectations are really high to get back to where they were prior to last season. And they were in a lot of games last year, just couldn't muster enough offense to even win low-scoring games. So I think it'll be a completely different look for ECU, especially on the offensive side with John David Baker coming in from Ole Miss at coordinator. That's going to add a lot of juice to that offense.
Jim Szoke, we got a lot of football to talk about with you during the course of the season. I appreciate your time. Be well. Enjoy the trip from Providence to Foxborough.
And who wouldn't? You got great Italian food here at Providence, I'll tell you that.
Well, that is true. That is undeniable.
You can't miss on the Italian food here, but always great to talk with you, Adam. Thank you.
Hey, Jim, thank you so much for the time. Jim Szoke from the Panthers Radio Network.